another episode, a wonderful episode of Med Nation. My name is Dr. David Farnen, and my wonderful co-host,
Dr. Lanier.
And this is another wonderful Friday episode of Med Nation. Today, we're excited to be joined by Dr. Lorcan here. But you're a podiatrist, a business owner, and a healthcare business coach. He helps clinics all around the world to make more profits. So Lorcan, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I'm a podiatrist. I trained in London, in University College London, back in 1998. And I still own my own clinic, still run my own clinic. I have 6 podiatrists working for me. I don't really treat patients much anymore. I did a little bit of locum yesterday from my own clinic, and have developed this second passion really at this point, and that is I am a health business mentor to clinic owners, like you said, around the world, but primarily podiatrists. And what I do is I help them to earn more while working less, or essentially what I want them to do is to be able to kind of gain financial freedom. And what we do is we promise our promise is essentially we help them to double their profits in the first 12 months. And they do. If they do what we tell them, they do, which is fantastic.
That sounds awesome. Work less, make more. I'm all for that.
The goals of life.
I want to talk a little bit about the common challenges, healthcare providers face when running a business. I want you to elaborate on that for us. When I opened our clinic now 4 years ago, right out of residency, I had a lot of challenges. I didn't know how to start. I didn't know what advertising was, where to go to advertise. I didn't know what payer reimbursement was. So there was a lot of things that I wish I knew somebody like you. What are some challenges healthcare providers usually face when running a business?
Sure. Well, it's funny, no matter who you speak to around the world, it's usually very common frustrations that they feel like they're working too hard for not enough return, or they're firefighting and trying to keep all the plates spinning as such. And I was in that exact same situation when I first opened my clinic, because I wanted to be my own boss, and I wanted to be able to decide what I did and when I did it. And I thought what I had to do was to just be very good clinically. And if I was very good clinically, then word of mouth, etc., would be sufficient. And while I did fill my own book, and I was able to fill maybe another podiatrist book, I found that from a business viewpoint, it was very hard work, and there wasn't a lot of money left at the end of every month. And at some occasions, my staff were getting paid more than I was, and I couldn't understand what was going wrong. And it is, for me, I hit the low point when I ended up with quite a large tax bill, because I was incompetent. I didn't know what I was doing. And at that point, I realized I needed to spend as much time almost on the CPD of business as I had on the CPD of clinical, which is equally important. And I think a lot of the frustrations that clinic owners are having is that they recognize something's not quite right. So they start their business, they're full of enthusiasm. And then maybe after a year or 2 or 3, they think something's not quite right. This is harder than it should be. And they don't know their numbers. They don't know how to manage staff, in a lot of cases, how to recruit or even retain staff. And they're not sure what decisions to make with regards to how do I scale this business? How do I make some smart decisions? And they make bad decisions. They make a lot of mistakes. And their marketing, in a lot of cases, is frankly not good. I'm being polite. It's a lot of wasted money spent on marketing.
Yeah, well, if you don't know what the right way of marketing is, you're just going to go with what you think is right. And we are not educated on that. So you're just going to throw money and you won't get much out of it. That's what happened to me. You did mention, good point, putting more time also to the administration side of the business, not only seeing patients, but also when do you have that time? You're exhausted seeing patients all day, so that was other struggle I think providers will have as well.
Yeah, and I see that with clinic owners that come and work with me, that they're already working, to the end of the day. They're stretched as is, and they're unsure of how are they going to put time aside to actually start to study on how should you run a profitable business. So one of the first things that we would often work on is we work on pricing strategy, because in the majority of cases, what's happened is the clinic owner, when it comes to pricing, has determined the pricing based off maybe what the insurance company has told them to do, or they will often look at what their competitors are doing before they open. They don't want to be the most expensive and they don't want to be the cheapest. And as a result, it's almost like throwing a dart at a dartboard. And the pricing strategy that they have is not reflective of what it needs to be for them to generate enough income and turnover so that they can afford to not treat patients for a certain percentage of the week, the day, so they can focus on building that business.
Another challenge I feel like we face, and I've been part of the partnership contract with Dr. Lanier here, and establishing and help kind of growing the brand and growing this empire here in Nashville, is finding the good, not just ancillary staff. We have a good ancillary team, but just finding good associates, mid-levels, doctors that actually are on the same page from a business perspective, right? And I do give some leeway on the fact that they're just out of residency. They don't teach you that in our training. But Dr. Lanier and I, it's hard to get somebody. I mean, it sounds easy in terms of, hey, you hire the right people, and that includes not just ancillary staff, but like productive associates and mid-levels and such, then you can grow rapidly, right? But I feel like that's a common rate limiting step, is finding those particular people that want to work, that want to get out there, that are hungry to go out there and do good work and promote good business.
Yes, and when it comes to recruitment, there's no perfect person out there, and you're never going to get any member of staff that's going to be as effective as you are. So like I have a client at the moment who's just recently started taking on his first podiatrist working for him, and I've explained to them that they're never going to be, because it's not their business. So they're going to have other priorities other than your business. But how you make sure that you optimize that staff member and how you make sure that that staff member is as good as you can make them is that you use systems. So what you want to do is you want to build a business on systems so that the business is about systems, not individuals. So if that individual is not up to the job, if you need to replace them or if they leave, you can replace them with someone else, and it's the system that runs your business rather than the person. Now, obviously, you are looking for people who have the right character. That's what you're talking about there, really, is that the right work ethic and character, but having a systemized business and a system that you can teach people quickly and get them up and running makes life an awful lot easier for an employer, really.
That's excellent advice. Already I feel like I should pay you just on this consulting. So that leads into my next question. Can you give us an example? I'm sure we don't care if it's a recent client or a past client that you worked with, and how you were able to help them.
Okay. But that's a very broad question. Okay, so I'll think of one guy in particular who joined me last year, August. So he started his own clinic in February. His name is Rob, and he's actually on my website. We did a video about it, and he got some bad advice. And what he ended up doing is spending $4,500 a month on his Google Ads. And he contacted me in August, and he was about to go out of business. He was not making any profit. So the first thing we did is we turned off his Google Ads because they were done completely wrong. We altered his pricing, we altered his packaging. So he was too cheap. He wasn't packaging, so he wasn't getting the patient to spend enough per appointment. He wasn't getting the patient to come back often enough. So we improved the average spend, and we improved the patient visit average. So how often they were coming back. So therefore, we were generating more per patient. Then we turned back on his Google Ads, but we actually brought his spend from 4,000 down to 400. And we implemented good quality systems. Now, I made him go and work hard, and he was willing to do so. He was only young, 26. And we implemented good quality marketing strategy into his business. And we had we built an attraction system that was automated. So we were using Google Ads, we were using Facebook ads, and it was running 24/7, attracting him the kind of leads that he needed, the profitable type of patients. Then what we did is we also taught him how to convert, which is working on the psychology of persuading people to say yes to what you need them to say yes to. Obviously the type of treatment that they require rather than anything they don't require. And we scale that. So by being able to check the numbers to see his return on investment. So to see if I spend this much, I'm getting this many leads, I'm converting this percentage, and they're spending this. We were able to go in then and gradually turn that up and turn that up. And he's been able to triple his profits since he joined 6 months ago. So that, for me, I get a great buzz when I see something like that, that he was in such a bad state. He was really being taken advantage of. And by actually reducing his marketing spend by 90%, but having a much smarter strategy, he's been able to have a much better quality business.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm sure that is a reward for him, also for you.
Yeah, it's because he's quite young, and I look at him and I say to my wife, I wish I had done that when I was his age, when I had started out, and I wouldn't have spent 10 years killing myself. But you live and learn, don't you?
Are you thinking about like a guidebook? You know, it could be a book that you can publish on how to open a podiatry clinic. And
well, I already have written a book.
Oh, you have?
So I have, yeah. And like anybody who wants it, you can get a free paperback copy if they go onto the website, morepracticeprofits.com/podiatry book. But yeah, I wrote it all out. I wrote a book about 2 or 3 years, actually pre-COVID. I wrote a book, Podiatry Business Success Secrets. And I didn't hold anything back. Everything that somebody needs to make a successful business. I mean, I treated patients yesterday for the first time since July, because I wanted a break, and my patients are still getting great quality care from my team, who are really happy. It's great to go in, and there's a great culture inside in the clinic, and we all have a great laugh. And everything that I've done is in the book, and it's not even that the knowledge isn't out there. It's how do you apply the knowledge is often what it is, because the internet is you can get anything you want now from the internet. It's pretty much free, podcasts, etc. You can get all the information. It's how you apply it, and having almost a path that you follow. And I have had mentors who's helped me obviously in the past, and still have mentors. And what having a mentor does, or somebody, whether it's someone down the road that has another clinic or whatever, is they've all made the mistakes, so they will guide you how to avoid those mistakes, and it shortcuts the process of reaching the goal that you're looking to reach.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. So I have a question for you. What do you think sets your coaching approach apart from others in the industry?
Well, I wouldn't be trying to downplay anyone else, but I can tell you how I do it is essentially what we have is we try to figure out. So we don't have a cookie cutter approach. So essentially, it's bespoke for everyone, because everyone's situation is slightly different, and they have to work on different situations. So what we do first is we figure out what is the thing that they need to work on. Firstly, we figure out where they want to get to and where they are now, and we are able to understand then what's getting in their way. Then we tell them what they need to work on next. So rather than giving them a big long list of things that's going to overwhelm them, we give that clinic owner maybe 1 or 2 things that they need to do next. Then we give them the training on that. So we'd have a lot of our training online, etc., done, and then we give them support if they're stuck. And that's essentially it. And then we move to the next step and the next step and the next step. And what we would have is, because we've been doing it for quite a while, and because I still have my own clinic and I try these things in my own clinic, we have made the mistakes, and we've other clinic owners in the group who have made mistakes and who have experience, so that they're able to say, look, when you're thinking of doing it this way, I think you should try this, and so on. And that, I think that's a huge part. And then secondly, because it's a support network of other clinic owners in the group, that really makes a big difference. Because it's not just me telling you what to do, it's others there who have been in your position 6 months, 12 months, 24 months ago.
Yeah. So with the healthcare industry constantly changing and evolving, what strategies do you recommend for podiatrists to stay up to date and remain competitive in the market?
Marketing, 100% marketing. If you think about it, your patients or your potential patients, we like to think that they're choosing us because we care more or because our clinical skills are better. But in all honesty, your patients don't really know that until they've met you and they've already come into your clinic. So the reason they will pick your clinic over any other clinic is 100% down to marketing. And marketing is psychology. So if you can understand the psychology of why people make decisions and the psychology of persuasion, then you can construct a much better quality marketing strategy. And that will allow you then to attract the type of patients that you need in your clinic. So for example, I know in the States that cash pay, for example, patients might be something that some clinics will be trying to attract. And if you have the right type of marketing, you can encourage patients to come in and to pay, who, even though they have insurance, are quite willing to pay out of pocket, because you're working on the psychology of persuasion and what makes a difference to them, and what emotional buying triggers that they have. So the biggest thing I would say to you is, the biggest thing to understand, the biggest change you can make to your business to make it more profitable, is to get better at marketing and to have a real deep understanding of strategy. You don't really need to understand the tactics. And when I say tactics, what I mean is know how to set up a Google ad or a Facebook ad and so on, but you must understand the strategy, because so many clinic owners in the US in particular are spending huge sums on marketing, which is incredibly ineffective, because they're using marketing agencies who really don't understand the psychology of why people say yes, and they don't understand deeply what it's like to run a clinic, and they use the same approach almost for every clinic, and it's just not working.
Why do people say yes?
People say
yeah.
Why do people say yes? So there's a lot of research done on this, and people, when they're spending over $50, it's mostly American psychology research, when they make the decision based on emotion, and they'll rationalize it afterwards. That's why people queue out overnight to buy an Apple iPhone. I mean, you can just buy it the following week online, but they do it because it's an emotional attachment. So people are saying yes to whether they're going to have a treatment with you based on emotion. And the mistake the clinic owners make is they try to base the explanation all on rational thinking, whereas that's not how humans work. We don't work rationally. We emotionally make a decision, and then we rationalize it later. So what we have to do is, we as clinic owners need to understand that. So when I get staff come work for me, for example, the first thing I do, so I have a practice manager who's a podiatrist, to teach them all the clinical. I teach them all the psychology, and I teach them all how are you going to get your patient to be compliant, to say yes to begin with. Because if a patient comes into us for an initial consultation, and we charge quite a lot for that appointment, and then they don't go ahead with the treatment, I feel we've wasted their money for that initial consultation. Then if they do go ahead and they're not compliant with the treatment plan, we've wasted it. So it's hugely important that we get that patient to be compliant, because if they're compliant, they're going to get better. They're going to have a much better quality of service. They're going to be happier, and they're going to recommend us to others. And it's a much more pleasant place to come to work. And then that has to be ingrained within the marketing before the patient even picks up the phone or fills in any form on your website.
It's very deep, and I like it.
I feel like you just described me to a T. I just bought an iPhone on the whim. So, I mean, that's American psychology at its finest.
Well, like, we all have emotional buying decisions. Like, for example, I can't go into a bookshop because I will always buy a book, and I'll always rationalize it afterwards, even though I have probably 50 books beside my bed I haven't read. Whereas my wife's emotional buying decision is handbags and shoes. Now, that's not for me. That's not my emotional buying decision. So what you have to do is, you have to find out what is your patient's emotional buying decision. So when a patient, for example, comes and they ask about, so if you look at my website, for example, on my achillesclinic.ie, it doesn't talk about pain. It talks about what it's stopping you doing, because people don't really want to get rid of pain. What they want is, they want to be able to go back doing what they couldn't do because of it. And that might be, I can't go running, I can't go for a walk with my husband, and so on and so forth. And what I would train my clients to do is to decide who your ideal patient is, because you can't advertise to everyone. So you decide who your ideal patient is, and then you find out what is their emotional buying decision, and you write your marketing message around that, so that it resonates with them, so that when they read the message, they say, it's as if you were speaking directly to me.
So that is, we call it, I guess probably you call it the same way here, as keyword. When we are doing Google ads, the
No, that's not what I'm talking about. No, so I know what you mean by keywords, but what I mean is so my ideal patient, her name is Noreen. Noreen is between 50 and 70. Noreen doesn't work, and she owns her own house and has the mortgage paid off and goes on her holiday. And Noreen is the decision maker in her house. And what I would have done is I would have interviewed Noreens who would have come into my clinic, and I would find out what are the phrases that they use when they describe their problem. And I write them out and I put them into the advertising. An example would be, we ran an advertisement last year for knee pain. And the advertisement is knee pain stopping you. So then we had a number of patients. I saw these patients, it was 12 in one day. And by the third patient, and I said, what is the knee pain stopping you doing? Because that was going to be their emotional event. They said, it's not stopping me doing anything, it's slowing me down. So I immediately went up to the marketing girl in the office and said, change the advertising from stopping to slowing you down, because that resonates better with them, because that's their phraseology. Whereas what you're talking about there is the keyword in Google would be knee pain, and then it would send them to an ad which would have the phraseology I just described in the ad and then in the landing page that we send them to.
So this is brilliant. I mean, I just learned something because I've been doing this, and we finally thought we figured it out. So yes, we do use the keywords that we think patients are typing, but you're not doing that. You're literally asking patients and getting that information from them. So I think our approach, Dr. Farnen and I, would be asking patients the same phrases, asking them, what is, your problem? What is it limiting you? Or phrase it the way,
So the keyword is what they're typing.
Right.
But the advertisement is their emotional goal. That's the difference. So, for example, the keyword might be plantar fasciitis, but the ad might say, is your plantar fasciitis stopping you living your life? Or is it stopping you, whatever it happens to be? Does that make sense? And then when they click on the ad and they go to the landing page is about nothing other than plantar fasciitis. And it is packed full of the phrases that they told us. So when they read it, their subconscious says, that resonates with me. And it talks about their emotional goal without them realizing that's what we're doing. So it directs them then to take the decision we want them to take. And what we want them to do is to do one of three things. We want them to either phone directly, because it's much easier to convert if they phone. If they're not going to phone, we want them to book online directly. And if they're not going to do that, we want them to give us their contact details so that we can then follow up. So we will take their phone number and we will take their email, and we'll send them then into an automated email sequence, which never finishes ever. And we will also then send them into an automated SMS sequence where we're texting them. So the robot will text them, and they'll have a conversation with the robot. And then we will manually pick it up. Then we will also phone the patient. So it's Friday night now. Okay, when I go in on Monday morning to my clinic, we might have 10 or 20 of those people who will have had a conversation with us over the weekend, even though we weren't there. And then that will be followed up. Then my marketing manager will go in, she'll pick up the phone and ring them, or she'll SMS text them and go from there.
What are your thoughts on the old-fashioned way of marketing, of going out door to door to these primary care clinics and to these various clinics nearby and doing it the old-fashioned method, bringing good old, marketing materials and asking for their blessing to send patients? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the benefit of doing online marketing, say Google, Facebook, is that it runs automatically. You just set it up and you check it every once in a while and it runs. But absolutely. So what you do first is you find out, who do I want? So this comes from Dan Kennedy. Who do I want? And then what message is going to resonate with them? And then where will I find them? And then you go to where they are. So an example would be, if you might be a shoe shop. So I'm a podiatrist. So there's a local shoe shop that's full of my patients. So who I want is the patient, but then what message is going to resonate would be different, because I'm actually targeting the owner of the shoe shop. So what I did is I went up to him and I said, what I want to do is I want to give you a gift. The gift is, and I got them printed up, golden tickets, like in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, golden tickets that you can give your clients who come in, your customers who come in, for a free foot assessment in my clinic. So somebody comes into you and says, I've got plantar fasciitis, I'm looking for a pair of shoes. Not only sell them the shoes, but give them a ticket and they can come to my clinic for a free assessment. So yeah, absolutely old fashioned. is absolutely fine. And I would absolutely utilize that and encourage people to do that. What's important is that you know your strategy before you start, and that you are willing to test, and then you're willing to measure the outcome. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, you try something else.
So tell me, you've accomplished all these things by helping so many incredible people, 3x their profits and gain visibility. It built, wrote these books for these podiatrists and business owners. What's next for you? Do you have any exciting projects or goals for the future?
To be honest, I started thinking a lot in the last year about mindset and about what it is I'm trying to achieve. And I was talking earlier on before we started recording about this, and I met my doctor today, and he said, "You realize you're a workaholic, and you're a bit like a terrier. You'll always be chasing something." So I'm trying to work on myself to work less and to not be running for the next thing so much. But what I want to keep, so I'm not going to grow my own foot clinic anymore because it's already achieving my goals. But with the coaching, I want to continue to help other clinic owners, because I see so many clinic owners who are just worn out, ground down, and they're burnt out, and they're almost falling out of love with their own business. And there's no need for that. And I love helping them, but I'm not in any rush to grow that business at the same time. It will happen when it happens, and I love doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, you're doing a great job. I'm sure you know it. I think a lot of not only new podiatrists, but seasoned podiatrists, also clinicians in general, can benefit listening to you, reading your books, listening to your podcast. So we are excited for you to spend, this time with us and learning from you, obviously.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I mean, whether they ever work with me or they ever work with anyone, there is lots of people out there. There's lots of free content out there that they can look at, they can use, they can listen to help them. And I would encourage people to put even a small percentage of the time that they do into clinical CPD, into business, into applying business principle and business CPD. And it will give you the resources, the ability to reinvest into the business, to give an even better quality of service to your staff, to your patients, and to your suppliers. It builds a better business for you and your family.
Absolutely. So if anybody wants to contact you, if you can leave your contact information, that'd be great, and we'll also add it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I think that's how we connect. People are more than welcome to ask me any questions. I love to talk.
Wonderful. And you brought up a great point, Dr. Lanier. If you could also let people know about the link for your free book and your clinical books, that'd be great too. We could put that in the description below, but I'm sure people will automatically go to your website. So where can they find your book?
So if they go to the website morepracticeprofits.com, they'll get anything they need. But that link in particular is morepracticeprofits.com podiatry book, and they'll find it there. It's also on Amazon.
Perfect.
But you'd have to pay Amazon, whereas I'll give it to you for free.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Free is always good.
Free is always good, yeah.
Well, perfect. We appreciate you and all that wonderful information. It's such a wealth of information you gave our listeners and us as well. I mean, there's something that we even learned, of course. Absolutely. And Dr. Lanier and I strive to learn something new every day. And that's the key to, I think, a successful practice moving forward, right? And they always say, I'll never forget this. I used to have a attendant that says, if you think you know everything enough, you should retire. Or if you think you know it all, you should retire from practice.
Yeah. Or have you heard the one? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Correct. Yeah. Same concept. So, I mean, her and I strive to learn something every day, and I'm sure our listeners are going to learn so much from this conversation. If there's one thing or kind of, mantra you live by, one quote that just resonates with you every day, what would you say to our audience and just your listeners, our subscribers, our listeners, that you live by that, resonates with you every day?
I suppose it's a mentor of mine said to me, people talk about having quality time. So I've got 4 kids and I'm not into material things. I don't even own a wallet. He said to me, people talk about quality time, spending quality time. He said, it's not about quality time, it's about quantity of time. So I try and spend as much time, and I with my kids, and I have a 5-year-old who comes in every morning at 6 o'clock. It's quite early, and she wakes me up and she wants me to bring her down and put on cartoons, and I try to appreciate the small moments with your family, because that's what it's all about, really, because you can't make more time, can you?
Yours does that too. Mine does that every morning at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Don't have 5-year-olds. Don't have 5-year-olds.
Yeah, that's the moral. And you're absolutely right. It's appreciating those small moments. What seems like I wish I'd rather, have her leave me alone to sleep an extra 32 minutes. She wakes us up at 5:45, 6 a.m. for cartoons and special time with you as dad, and it's a blessing. So
yeah, if you think about that event that maybe you didn't go to, or you didn't go to your child's Christmas play or whatever because you were with patients, you won't remember those patients in a year, but you'll remember not being at that event. And that's the way I kind of that's how I try to encourage my clients to think, that it isn't all about money and it isn't all about work. It's the money's there to give you the freedom to choose. That's what it's for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, again, thank you. And I know it's almost 10 o'clock there. I believe, right? 9:45 or so, but we wish you a good evening, and thank you again for joining us on this podcast. We appreciate you.
That's great. And I appreciate you're having me on. Great to talk.
Nice talking.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.